This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened. We begin on October 27th, 1989, on the outskirts of Holland, Michigan, in the middle of the night.
With asthma, what happens is the bronchioles, or the air passages in your lungs, spasm closed, and no air can get through one way or the other. The same as somebody putting a pillow over your face. Obviously what happens is you suffocate, and that results in death.
I woke up because the lights were on and he was making a little bit of noise, and I saw him hunched over, his hands on his knees.
We have to go to the emergency room.
You know, boom, I knew just like that, and I was out of bed. I never expected this type of attack. I guess the thought never crossed my mind that he, hey, he might stop breathing.
Tina Freeman's 20-year-old fiancé, Jeff Byleth, was suffering the most severe asthma attack of his life.
And he kept saying, I can't breathe, help me. I could just tell at that moment, I told him, I said, I'm calling an ambulance, and he shook his head, yeah.
Mercy Ambulance Service, may I help you? Okay, what's the problem?
He's having an asthma attack and he can't breathe.
What's your address?
It's 85904 42nd.
8590?
It's off 100.
You can tell certain tones of voices. Tina had the tone of voice that said help immediately.
What's the phone number you're calling from?
It's 396.
Part-time dispatcher Jim Van Buren passed on the information for dispatch.
Okay, I've got the ambulance on the way, but I want to keep you on the telephone, okay?
Okay.
Is he breathing right now?
Hardly.
Okay. Can you hear him making sounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please help me, please help me.
Okay, what color is his skin?
He's falling down.
Okay, that's okay. Calm down, hon. You have to calm down if we're going to help you, okay? Calm down. Talk to me. What's he doing right now?
He's not breathing. Please help.
Okay, can you see his chest moving?
When we continue,
Listen.
I've got to get Tina to get some air into Jeff to keep brain damage from occurring. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's not going to make it.
Okay, listen. Then you're going to have to breathe for him if he's not breathing. Okay, listen to me. Is he right next to you right now?
No, he's by the door.
Okay, can you get the telephone and you right next to him? Okay. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. Grab him and drag him to the telephone.
Okay, hang on.
Do that. Do not hang up.
She's still on a verge of panic because you can hear her crying in the background as she's trying to drag Jeff to the telephone. Okay, are you right next to him?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Can he hear you? Can you?
Be deaf? No, he's not breathing.
Okay. Is his chest moving?
It was a very scary situation. He's only got 4 minutes before brain damage starts to set in. After 6 minutes, irreversible brain damage is imminent. I'm thinking the ambulance isn't going to be there for 10 minutes yet because they were out in the boondocks, so to speak.
Do you know, is there anyone else there that knows how to do mouth-to-mouth?
No.
Okay, listen to me. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you how to do mouth-to-mouth. Is there a pillow under his head?
No, but
Okay, good. Okay, no, don't get one. Listen to me. Listen to me. No, he's not. Now calm down. Tilt his head back. Pinch his nose closed. Okay, completely cover his mouth with your mouth.
Okay.
And force 2 deep breaths into his lungs. Can you feel air going into his chest?
No, nothing. No responses.
Okay, is his chest rising when you do that?
Okay, I'm getting a response now.
Oh, what's he doing?
Opens his mouth and sticks his tongue out, but his chest doesn't rise.
Is his eyes open?
No.
Okay, then let's do it again. So what color is his skin? What color is the skin on his face?
His lips are kind of blue.
Okay, then let's do it again. Let's blow into him again.
I've got to get Tina to get some air into Jeff to keep brain damage from occurring. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's not going to make it.
He's kind of breathing.
Okay, did he try to take a breath on his own?
Yeah.
What happened when he tried to take a breath on his own?
It's like it's hard for him, you know?
Like it's hard for him.
Yeah.
Is he trying to take another breath on his own?
Yeah, he's taking them.
Is he getting any air in?
Barely.
I asked her, well, what's he do after you give him a breath? Well, he opens his mouth and sticks out his tongue, an unconscious way of saying, help, I need more air. So I knew he's still in dire straits. So I had her continue the breathing for him.
Okay, now, what I want you to do is I want you, Tina, to try to check his pulse. Do you know where to take a pulse in the neck?
Okay, I feel the pulse.
Do you feel a pulse?
Yeah.
Okay, count it. Start counting. When I tell you to stop, you tell me what you came up with.
Okay.
Go.
I had her count for about 15 seconds.
Okay, stop.
26.
Good, that's great.
Yeah.
Is he conscious?
No.
Okay, but he's still breathing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep you on the phone until the ambulance gets there. Now, this is what we're going to do from this point on. I want you to breathe into him 1 time every 5 seconds. So you breathe and then count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. Breathe.
Oh, he's hardly breathing again.
That's okay, Tina. You're breathing for him.
Are they going to be here soon?
They're on their way. They are a little bit of ways, but they are on their way, okay?
The lights run like that.
You betcha. They're running like a bat out of hell. Can you see his chest move when you blow into him?
Okay, you're here.
Okay, Tina. You did a good job. I'm going to let you go now.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Within 12 minutes of Tina's call for help, first responders and paramedics arrived.
His skin color was very, very poor. He was gray, his lips were cyanotic or purple. His pupils were dilated and non-reactive, which, you know, are all signs that he has not had a lot of oxygen.
Paramedics Don Dickens and Mary Biesbrock both worked on Jeff.
I've had other calls where they've been severe like this, but they haven't made it. Tina kept Jeff alive up until we got there and took over and put the tube down to his lungs and began to breathe for him.
1, 2, 3, up.
They said he is going to live, but he could have brain damage because we don't know how long he was without oxygen. And I'm thinking, just let him live. That's all I'm asking. Just let him live.
His condition was very critical. Some of the numbers that we use as far as laboratory tests to determine a person's status when they have a respiratory arrest, some of those numbers in Jeff were barely compatible with life.
Dr. Stephen Crocker treated Jeff, but the outcome was still uncertain.
He started to wake up, and he was conscious, and basically, I could just tell, this is my Jeff, same guy.
I woke up in the hospital bed, very dizzy, disoriented. It was scary at that point. I still didn't know exactly what had happened.
And I turned to Tina and I said that, doesn't he look great? I said, he probably would not be here, or he probably would be here but have severe brain injury had you not been able to do what you did. And she had tears in her eyes. She was so happy.
In most communities, dispatchers are not trained to give first aid information over the phone. In many dispatch centers, it's not even allowed. For Holland, Michigan, it was a new program.
The first few minutes are the absolute critical time, and the outcome depends heavily on that.
The dispatcher is the first link of help, because now I can tell this person how to do CPR. If the public can start CPR, the chances of survival are even greater.
Jeff and Tina plan to be married soon.
We rely on each other a lot more. It's brought us closer together, you know, looking out for the other person, you know. We have to take care of each other.
Each year, more than 5,000 people die of asthma attacks. Most would have survived if they'd been treated in time.
The backyard of Ruth and David Spaulding's Fort Lauderdale home borders a 180-acre state park. For years, they'd enjoyed watching the wild animals that flocked to the park. But the Spauldings never expected that one would become a house guest.
Look, he's carrying it. He picks him up in his front paws, and
that's why we find a lot of mammals down there that we can't.
Don't worry about it. They don't eat much. We're kind of allowed to come on. Come on, let's go back. Read the paper and worry about something else.
Ruth and I were sitting in the living room here. She said, "I heard something strange out back. Maybe you better see what it is." This was at 10:30 at night, and it was very, very dark. So I turned on a flashlight, and it was a beautiful gold snake that was wrapped about 5 times around a raccoon that he had just killed. I was very startled. I mean, this was something different from the other animals.
I saw with my own eyes. Now, where the heck? What? It was right.
She came out there with me just in time to see the tail of the snake disappear under the house. Ruth called 911, and the police said they don't handle snakes.
The Spauldings had no idea how big the problem was, but fearing it could be dangerous, they warned their nearest neighbors.
The neighbors next door, the Spauldings, had called us and warned us that they had spotted a snake in their backyard the night before.
They said they saw a huge snake eating a 30-pound raccoon. We automatically feared for our children, because we have a child that's smaller than what that snake was eating.
Not only small children were at risk.
She said, we have some news for you. And I said, what kind of? She said, there's a snake in the backyard, in our backyard. I went with Kelly out in the back. Every time he had to go out, I put him on a lead, and I took him out in the backyard. I didn't want the snake to get my dog.
Until they could find someone to help them with their unwanted house guest, the Spauldings built an elaborate trap designed to keep the snake contained under the house.
We felt that he couldn't bother anyone else, but we did find one morning that he had broken out through it at a different point and was probably into the park after raccoons.
I walked into the park office, and there was a message there for me that read more or less, have you seen any large snakes at the north end of the park? I more or less took it, you know, with a grain of salt, you know, yes, maybe, maybe not. We have snakes all over the park. Large snakes, what's large? As time went on, they did show us. When we saw the snakeskin, that made us believers.
We got the name Todd Hardwick from the Science Museum, and we did wonder about the name.
Pesky critters. We're nuisance wildlife trappers. When animals, primarily in an urban situation, get into a conflict with the homeowners, I'm hired to go out and solve the conflict, and it's our policy here to always solve the conflict by taking the animal alive and relocating it to a better environment. We handle everything from buffalo all the way down to possums, bobcats, and everything else. We don't do dogs and cats, but that's about the only thing we wouldn't do.
Todd went to the Spauldings' house to see if this was just another big snake story with Tom McClellan, an expert in snakes.
We went out the backyard and we saw a trap. It was set up to catch the snake. It was humorous. It was made out of 3/8-inch plywood And for a snake of this size, just crawling in there and expanding its coils would have blown the sides right out of the cage. The size of the scales in the middle of the back gave me an idea. It was definitely in excess of 18 feet. And by the pattern that was on it, I knew it was a reticulated python. And I told this to Todd, and he said, well, you know, what are reticulated pythons like? And I said, they're usually nasty.
My heart began to race, and I began to have many, many thoughts racing through my mind as to what was going to unfold that day and in the following days.
It's a fairly active tunnel under here.
Yeah, what's it look like?
Well, it's really smooth. Looks like she's been coming through here on a very regular basis.
It was a small chamber, and there was another hole going under another floor joist into another area. So rather than waste time digging into this area when we just have to dig into another one, we examined some blueprints of the house that the Spauldings happened to have and decided that around the corner was the best place to dig because it would put us in the largest chamber underneath the house and give us access to all the other individual areas.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead down in and see what I can see. Take it easy.
I was aware of the size of the snake. Not many people were. To have two people go under the house and get in that enclosed area with a huge snake seemed to me to be a very unwise thing to do.
Our plan at that point was to go under the house, assess the situation, determine where the snake might be, but not confront it.
Wow. We had no idea what was going on under there. We were very concerned and felt that we were responsible having let these fellows go under.
Look at this hole over here, Tom. Looks like he comes out and heads in your direction.
I got a fresh hole right next to me.
I tell you what, I'm gonna...
There's a musk that snakes give off, a scent, and it was very strong. You could smell the snake in the hole.
I think we should leave for today now that we know where she is, because we're not going to be able to handle this by ourselves.
To go under the house and try and handle that animal alone would be idiotic, and two would be a little less idiotic, but still not smart.
I look worried. She's in there, all right.
Well, we were greatly relieved to see them come out, I can tell you.
Tom and Todd had gotten an idea how big this problem was.
They said they were going to get more help and come back the next day.
That ought to hold until tomorrow morning. Make tracks before rush hour.
When we continue.
I was terrified of the thought that the second Tom's head appeared in that chamber, it would instinctively strike at him and he would take a strike in the face or in the throat.
The day after their scout trip, Todd and Tom returned with reinforcements. Snake hunters Joe Wasilewski and Felix Velez.
Of course you were afraid. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. But fear is part of it. We like adrenaline, we like excitement, something different.
It's coming in.
Let's get some of the equipment.
Since we clearly did not know what would happen, we wanted to be prepared for everything. So we had an excessive amount of equipment.
Okay, you guys move a little bit. Here I come. You guys see anything yet?
All right, Joe. That was the worst part of the whole day. Getting in that little hole.
There you go.
Being in little closed places drive me crazy. I just felt this whole house collapsing in on me.
Yeah, that's the hole.
We approached the hole where we thought the snake was, and at that point we decided that we should take rocks and block off all these other holes of escape. And also at that point, Tom and Felix began to enlarge the snake's entry into the second chamber.
Well, what do you think, Tom? Big enough? You gonna hit it?
I had a lot of really terrible thoughts. I was terrified of the thought that the second Tom's head appeared in that chamber, that if the snake were laying close, it would instinctively strike at him and he would take a strike in the face or in the throat.
I got a visual. What do you got? Retic. How big? Big.
A big snake. It was bigger than I thought it was. I knew it was over 18 feet just from looking at the skin, but you had to take a step back and look at this thing. It was an impressive animal.
You got it?
I immediately realized that the size of this snake and how far we were from the original hole, it was going to be impossible to wrestle that snake into a sleeping bag and drag him back out of that chamber the way we came in.
Well, I'm getting out of here.
So at that point, I suggested that myself and Joe, who was obviously the most claustrophobic at that time, we exit and look into the possibility of coming in from the other side of where the snake was.
Go over here and get him from the front.
Tom was explaining that he thought he saw light coming in.
I'll show you where that
See that
is.
thing?
There's the other hole there, huh?
If it comes at you, let me know. I'll pull you out by the legs, Tom.
You'll be the first one I call. All right, pass me some of that stuff.
Here.
We left Tom and Felix there to keep their eye on the snake, and I was uneasy about that because I was worried that if the snake got hostile towards them, that it was just those two, which we never wanted just two people down there. So when we got out front, I was very anxious to dig that opening as fast as we could. I was extremely nervous, not knowing what was going on down there with those two guys.
It's great. This is the third hole now. Now, I'm not too thrilled about the first one, less thrilled about the second one, and I damn sure don't want to go in this one.
Hang me down a little bit more. All right. I need like one more foot. Can you guys hang me down a little more? Okay, I see her. Can you guys get her to come around to the right a little bit?
And as I was lunging in to get it by the head, it occurred to me that my boots might slip off when these guys went to pull me out, and I would then be virtually tumbling in on the snake's lap. And the snake suddenly turned in a position to come up towards my face. And at that point, I had an opportunity to get the snare around his neck and cinched it up tight.
I got him, pull!
All right, we got this.
He's got it. Go, 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 go.
Okay. Wait, what's the news?
The crowd was screaming. People were tripping on themselves, retreating from where we were. They had been jockeying for position all morning and suddenly realized they didn't want to be up close.
It had undoubtedly either been turned loose or it escaped. It's not the snake's fault for being under that house. The blame for that snake being loose rests solely on the person that either allowed it to escape or turned it loose. That's the person to blame for it.
When it was all over, this snake story had a happy ending for everyone, but especially for Todd and his new roommate, Big Mama, the 21-foot, 250-pound python.
Some of the fellows said they'd never had so much fun in a long time. When you're into snakes, I guess that's really the greatest thing, to be able to go under a house and get one.
If I had one word to sum up the whole thing, I would say great, because I wouldn't have missed this for the world. I couldn't think of any place I would have rather been at that moment than under the house with that snake.
Next.
By 5 o'clock, I knew that something was really wrong. When I realized that he'd never arrived, I knew that he'd either had a heart attack or had an accident.
Sports car racing enthusiast James Coons had competed in events around the country for years. On March 31st, 1989, James set out on a 165-mile drive to a racetrack through the hot California desert with an extremely dangerous cargo.
My husband had his van and trailer with 8 barrels of gas and our 2 dogs, Teddy and Hillary.
I know you keep waiting for I'm nothing but a hound dog.
We don't have kids, those are our kids. They're the light at the center of our life.
He had no placards on it. He had no permit to be hauling that much fuel. It's a higher octane fuel, and actually the flash point on it, the point of ignition is a lot lower than the lower octane fuels. Several areas there are bad winds that will catch high-profile vehicles, and they will go over.
Winds were blowing through the canyons that day at speeds of 40 miles an hour. The wreckage of the van could not be seen from the highway. Days went by, and no help came. On Sunday, when Kitty Coons returned from visiting out-of-town relatives, she expected to find her husband James at home.
I tried to say to myself, well, you know, he's talking with his buddies. He won't be home till late. I figured, okay, the latest he would be home, if he stayed till they cleaned up the track, the latest possible time that he would be home would be 9 o'clock. When 9 o'clock came and he wasn't there, I got really uncomfortable. And then I started doing scenarios in my head. Okay, he's had an accident, he's got a flat tire, and I really wasn't worried if he had had a breakdown because all the racers would be coming home. And it's like one big family. I mean, they'd stop and help him. By 5 o'clock, I knew that something was really wrong. And I first called a friend, and I said, what time did James leave the track last night? And she said, he never arrived. And when I realized that he'd never arrived, I knew that he'd either had a heart attack or had an accident. The sheriff's office came, and I explained to him what had happened, and he asked me a lot of questions. And it didn't really start to hit home till he started asking for description. And I realized that they might be looking for a body. And I called my friend Karen, and I told her that James was missing. And she said she would come over. And I said, you know, I didn't want to be alone if I find out he's dead. And because I really didn't have any other family. I have no brothers or sisters. I have nobody. It was James, Hillary, and Teddy. That's the only family I have.
San Diego County sheriffs, including Lieutenant George Neshaw, searched the rocky 75-mile stretch of highway.
Under the circumstances, it was something that would be appropriate to go look for him with a helicopter because it's a long road and it's windy and windy and there's sheer cliffs on the side, and a person could crash over the edge, and people looking for him from car probably wouldn't be able to see him.
Okay, we've got a lot of wind coming across here too. I think that might be a factor. Yeah. There it is.
When we first saw the van, we were real sure that it was an unsurvivable crash. The task at hand at that point was fairly grim. I had to walk up and decide whether the guy was dead or alive, and I've obviously encountered dead people before in this line of work, and after having been on a desert floor for 3 days, I knew that I'd probably be able to smell him before I got real close to the van. The closer I got, I could smell something that was dead. It was real surprising. Somebody actually answered back.
Okay. Let me call for some help, get you some water.
I was completely shocked that he was alive, and it's quite a thrill.
Tasker 3, we've located the van over the side, almost down into the desert towards Akatia, eastbound 8. We found the subject is alive in the van. We're going to need life flight, rescue, and the fire department, code 3.
The homicide officer called me to tell me that they'd found him, and I said, what's wrong? What's happened? And he said, his van and trailer went over the side of the mountain, but he's alive. And I said, are the dogs alive? And he said, I don't know, but he's alive. I said, how badly hurt? We don't know, but he's alive.
Rescue and hazardous materials teams from Imperial County arrived on the scene. Although James had managed to survive 3 days in the 90-degree heat, he was still trapped inside the crushed van. Paramedics were unable to reach James to treat him.
He could have died from dehydration. It was the hotter part of the year, so he could have died of a heat stroke. But he was oriented. He knew where he was at, and he knew what was going on.
Volunteer Fire Chief Robert Klein was one of the first on the scene.
There was too much fuel leaking, and it was highly flammable. There was fumes that would burn your eyes down there. If you take one spark with those fumes, you're going to get a big flash, and then all 8 drums are going to go up. So you're going to have one hell of an explosion.
The large quantities of highly flammable fuel made any attempt to rescue James extremely risky.
The extrication was put off because of a possibility of a spark. We phoned the area. We decided on removing the drums before we went any further with it.
EMT Wanda Roth made her way down to the wreck.
My assignment was basically to get to the victim. I could not see his face, the lower half of him, or anything else. I was sitting down there saying, okay, now just nobody light any cigarettes or spark off anything, because, I mean, I didn't want to be blown apart, but it was my job to sit there and talk to him, so that's what I was assigned, so that's what I did.
The next thing was to locate a crane with a 60-foot boom.
Because the 55-gallon drums were too dangerous to remove by hand, a 50-ton crane was brought in.
One thing, no spark.
Mike King headed the crane crew.
Our only concern was being able to take the barrels off in the right sequence. If you pull the wrong one off, then the whole thing tumbled, because we were afraid if it did, that there might be some explosion.
Night had fallen by the time the first barrel could be removed.
The crane operator, in the process of lifting those barrels off, could not see the vehicle where we had it set up. He could not see over the edge. Basically, he was told to swing left and right, boom up and down, and lower his hoist, raise his hoist. So he was basically working blind.
By early evening, Kitty arrived at the scene of her husband's accident.
It was funny when I was standing there looking down, and there were literally 20, 30, 40 volunteer fire, ambulance, paramedics. And I thought, I volunteered hundreds of hours at the UCSD Medical Center. And I looked down and I thought, I've always believed what comes around goes around. There they were. There were all those hours down there coming back to me.
Look what I found. Been underneath there all soaked.
All of a sudden, Wanda, one of the volunteers, came up. And she had my dog Hillary. And I couldn't believe it.
Hillary had stayed by her master's side on the desert floor for 3 days and 3 nights.
Wanda, she had been with James for 8 hours in the heat, and I've never seen anyone look so exhausted. You know, I said, how is he? And she said, well, he's conscious. And she said, I couldn't see him, but, you know, I can talk to him.
There was no room to pry open the smashed doors. The rescuers used the crane to lift the van so they could use the jaws of life.
You want to watch your face when you open that door.
After more than 70 hours, James was finally pulled out of the wreckage.
He had multiple contusions and abrasions throughout his entire body. He also had first-degree burns and second-degree burns to his abdomen and groin area. From the fuel being spilled on gasoline is corrosive, so it's going to cause burns if it's on you for any length of time.
Here is James, completely soaked, bloody, dirty, in horrible shape, and he looks up and says, "What took you so long?" I can't believe it. That is so typical of James.
It all depends on the individual and how long it's going to take him to get dehydrated. Just from looking at the wreckage and considering how long he'd been in that vehicle over the hill, I think it was pretty amazing that the guy survived.
Though James received skin grafts and had to have part of his foot amputated, he survived where many others had died.
I knew I was trapped. My foot had caught between the drive shaft of the steering column and the engine, but I couldn't pull my foot out of the shoe. I tried that. I figured that I could get on the CB radio or I could flash my lights, but the battery got smashed right off the front, so I had no power. I just couldn't believe no one could see me. And then I thought, well, maybe they think it's, you know, it's an old crash. It's just some old truck body that blew over or something. So if I make some noise, they'll stop. So I started hollering help. Well, then I realized these people are not going to be able to hear me. And that's when I really started, you know, thinking, okay, what have I got to get out? In the seat behind me, I had a hunting knife, a double-edged hunting knife. Hunger never entered my mind. but water. Water became the only thing that I thought about. And then I got thinking, you know, I might have to cut my foot off to get out of here. And of course, then after I lost the knife, it was academic. What are you going to cut your foot off with? Your fingers? I start calling for Hillary.
You okay, girl?
You could hear underneath the van something moving around.
Kind of scary, huh?
The saddest thing is when I realized Teddy was dead. It was very frustrating to... I suppose it's the way a parent feels when they do something, have a car accident, and lose a child. You think, well, if I'd have left him at home, or he had been on the floor with Hillary instead of sitting on my lap like he likes to do. I told him I was sorry. I didn't mean to do it.
9 months later, James has returned to racing.
I appreciate the chance to go on. That's the one thing that I do appreciate.
My husband survived because he's an Ozark mountain man. What kept him alive was his thinking of ways to get out. He never would believe that he could die.
Next,
you have skills and the equipment, and it's what you can do with that skill and equipment in a short amount of time. It's basically a race against death.
Throughout the country, our vital emergency systems are being jeopardized by funding cutbacks. But there is something each of us can do about it. What follows is not a recreation. It's a weekend with the Virginia Beach EMS, the largest all-volunteer emergency medical service in the country.
Virginia Beach Police Fire and Rescue. I just hit a lady on 19th Street. You're at the Star Food Mart?
Yes, yes.
Okay, listen to me. You hit her with your car or what?
Yes.
All right, we'll send somebody out there to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
At 9:20 p.m., a call from a frightened motorist sends an ambulance to the scene of an accident.
Okay, what hurt you? What hurts?
Volunteer paramedic Rob Braithwaite treats the injured pedestrian.
Tell me what's happening. I'm just scared. You're scared, okay. I'll tell you what, you're doing fine now, okay? Okay. You just relax.
Vital signs 138, strong and regular.
A lot of times you don't have time to think.
Respirations are 18. We're initiating an IV with ringers at the...
Talk to us, open your eyes.
It's basically a race against death. You have skills and the equipment, and it's what you can do with that skill and equipment in a short amount of time.
What hurts on you, hon? Calm down.
At the hospital on this night, care of the victim is passed to Rob's wife, Ann, an emergency room nurse.
Hurt down here, Bertha?
Pearson? Yeah. P-E-A-R-S-O-N? Yeah.
If rescue squad hadn't come, someone had picked her up and she actually had a break in her neck somewhere. They could have severed the spinal cord right then and there, and she would have been either dead or paralyzed.
In Virginia Beach, men and women with other lives and other jobs work 12-hour shifts for no pay, providing emergency medical care to strangers.
We have 635 rescue squad people, and I guess if you ask all of them why they joined the rescue service, you get 635 different reasons.
Believe it or not, when a little girl brings you a plate of cookies for picking her up when she broke her arm that she and her mother baked, I think that is the best experience there is.
By the way, my name's Tim, so if you start feeling any worse or any better, why don't you tell me, okay? If he hurts you, you can reach up and slap him. Don't slap me, though, slap him, okay?
10-year-old Carrie Beth Smith hit her head on a diving board.
The first thing we want to try and do is win the confidence of the patient by joking around and tells the patient that we're very confident and we're very comfortable with their injuries and that we can handle them. She was in pain, but there was the sense that she knew that we were there to help, and there was a warmth inside her eyes just for us being there.
You're going to be okay. Mommy's going to follow in the car, okay? I'm going to meet you right there. I'll probably meet you there, okay?
I can't say enough to the rescue squad with being calming and knowing what they're doing, very efficient people. I have learned that kids, you tend to just let them go out and play and not think anything will happen. But just an accident can take them from you.
Fortunately, Carrie's injuries were minor.
That is probably the hardest scenario to have to deal with, is if there is a emergency situation involving a child. But luckily, this young lady turned out very, 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 very fortunate.
Off-duty, paramedic Tim Pugh is president of a small retail company.
Working in a sales environment, it is a stressful situation. So I enjoy rescue as a way of rest and relaxation. You find that your mind is cleared. You're addressing the immediate issue at hand, and the other things are just unimportant.
Virginia Beach Police Fire Rescue. My husband he's sweaty. His pulse is very weak. He's on the floor. I would take him to the emergency room, but I'm really afraid to try to move.
A call comes in about a 67-year-old man with a possible heart problem. Volunteer Dr. Jeff Slepin heads to the scene to help.
I just finished dinner and I was preparing to retire for the evening, and the call went out. The squad that was to respond to this, in that district there were no units available, so I took it upon my own volition to respond.
Mr. Boyce, I'm going to start a little IV just in case we need to give you some medicine.
The whole time you ride into the hospital, you're thinking what you're going to do. You have to get the steps in your head, you know, how much oxygen you're going to give them, where the oxygen is, where the masks are. When you get calls like that, they can be fine, they can be talking to you, and within 30 seconds they can stop breathing and stop having a heartbeat.
Computer systems analyst Jay Johns is on duty as a cardiac technician.
I do this because I love it. I don't really get any money for this. What I get is the satisfaction of knowing somebody is not as bad as they could have been as a result of something that I knew how to do. This is my fun. This is like going to the playground for a little kid. I enjoy every minute I do it.
1, 2, 3.
Tonight, Ed Boyce is having a digestive problem.
It seems to be doing a lot better now. I'm glad you called us.
I knew something was wrong. I'm glad we have the rescue squad. It gives you a great peace of mind to know that they are available, you know, and that you can call on them.
It's darn hard work, and it's something which is difficult to do. So the dedication and the commitment to make this happen is incredible. They have a sincere wish to take care of sick and injured people, and I think that they approach it from the standpoint that they take care of them like they're their family.
I like being out in the street. I like being in the field. My parents kept asking me this question the entire time while I was in my late teens. Why do you want to do this? And I still couldn't give them an answer. It's just something inside of me that says I've got to do it.
Your community may be in real need of volunteer fire and medical personnel. If you are interested in volunteering time, find out how you can help. I'm William Shatner. This series is dedicated to the real heroes who risk their lives to save the life of a stranger. Join me next week for more true stories on Rescue 911.
Step out of the car, please.